I feel like my hair is just getting bigger throughout this video. I don't know why. It is almost March, so let's talk about 2021 goals. I'm a little behind the times, okay? This is specifically reading goals. I have other goals, life goals, but I'm not going to get into that. If you want a video on just general stuff, let me know. Maybe we can have like a tea chat or a lunch chat, but this is specifically as regards reading, because if you've been following me for any length of time, or at all in the last year, which was, I mean, there wasn't much to follow, you'll know that I had a rough, I had a rough year. We all had a rough year, but the first time in possibly my entire life since I've been able to read, I barely did. It turns out that pandemics and major sicknesses will just sap the will right out of you. Hi, buddy. And so from February through July or August maybe, I literally didn't read a single thing. And then it was very like piecemeal from there on out. A lot of abandoning books. Things just weren't holding my attention, and I was just ruthlessly DNFing. And though I have started reading again and reading more regularly, I am still kind of struggling with what I want to read and how I want to approach it, and still just ruthlessly tossing books out the window. Not literally, but sometimes tempted. And because I woke up today wanting to talk to you guys, which I do a lot, by the way, I am constantly kind of like thinking in terms of videos in my head. Although for much of last year I didn't really do that as much because, again, nothing was registering. But yeah, I kind of am constantly like, I'm talking to you guys all the time in my head. So that's weird. If you ever feel alone, just know you're not, because I'm somewhere in Michigan talking to you. Anyway, I woke up this morning wanting to talk to you guys and feeling that energy again. It's been kind of creeping up on me. It's been building, and I've been wanting to get back into blogging and vlogging and all of that good stuff. And so today I thought, I'm gonna do it. We'll see how well it lasts, but I'm gonna do it. So I went ahead and grabbed my bullet journal and sat down and finally wrote up my bookish goals that I had been planning on doing for ages. And I thought we would go ahead and go through them, because honestly, I'm not one for the whole resolutions thing. To an extent, I do believe in harnessing that energy, that like fresh, new year, new you, all the ambition type of energy. Absolutely jump on it. But the thing is, people lock themselves into that, and then they don't immediately improve in whatever it is that they wanted to improve in. They feel like they failed and they abandon it. And I just think that's a real shame. And also, I mentioned, I want to say it was Jamie from the Perpetual Page Turner and Broken the Bookish that posted her like faves of 2020 or anticipated for 2021 or something like that recently, and said that, you know, she felt like she was way behind and maybe no one cared about it anymore. And I just want to say, for the record, I care all the time. I always want to see the things that you're excited about and the things that you've loved recently. And I think, again, locking it into one tiny sliver of the year is such a shame. So same with goals. Set them whenever. Recommit to them whenever. So that's an unnecessary spiel just to say, let's go ahead and look at my goals for this year as they stand now, because that could change. So in the past few years prior to the hell year, I had been reading every day. That started with 30-day book binge, which I realized about halfway through January was supposed to happen again in January. Sorry. But I credit that with the fact that I have been reading consistently and eagerly. Like, it felt like a part of my day. My day wasn't complete unless I had read something. And obviously that kind of went by the wayside in 2020, but I really did love that habit. But something that 2020, I think, has taught all of us is that we need to be a little bit easier on ourselves sometimes and not be so rigid, you know, not be so locked into things. So though I do want to read most days, I'm not setting a goal of reading every day. There's part of me that breaks my heart, because I love a good streak, and I think the further you get into a streak, the less likely you want to break it. So you'll go ahead even when you're not motivated. You'll just be like, I just gotta do it anyway, gotta get through it, and then you're so satisfied because you didn't break the streak. But I think for a lot of people there's guilt that comes with that too, and though I'm not someone who typically feels very guilty about things, I still just think it's more healthy. It's a better kind of mindset to not be so absolutist. So I have a goal of reading most days. If I read every day, that's great, but if I get sick or I'm busy or I just fucking forget, not the end of the world. I think that kind of sets the tone for how I'm approaching the goal and goals in general. And I also think that sometimes giving yourself a little bit of leeway makes you less willful, you know? So sometimes when you tell yourself you have to do something, or someone else tells you you have to do something, you don't want to. But if you tell yourself that it's optional, then you're like, yeah, I could do it. You know? Just there's a little bit of petulance, I think, that is overcome by just tweaking something just slightly so that it doesn't feel so rigid and absolute. Like a lot of people, I want to try to read more diversely, but I don't just mean that in terms of the we need diverse books movement or reading from more cultures and more perspectives. That's always a goal. That's always been a goal well before the we need diverse books movement. I've always tried to read, world literature and translated literature and things from all types of people. But what I've realized is I've really gotten into some ruts with my reading and reading the same types of things over and over. And I want to break out of that. I think that's leading a lot to my dissatisfaction with books that I think I would like otherwise, except that it's all becoming a little samey because I keep picking up the same things, and that's on me, that's not on the authors. So I want to try to read more styles, read more genres, read more age ranges, read more formats, different formats, read some nonfiction, read some more poetry and drama and things like that. I just want to shake things up a little bit so that I appreciate more and also so that I discover more. I think that part of getting other perspectives is getting different styles and formats, because if you don't, you're missing out on some of the things that people come up with and the way they interpret things and the way they present stories, because you're ignoring that entire sort of subset. And obviously there are going to be diverse voices among all of those. So just a goal I want to keep in mind. It's a hard one for me, especially because of something I'm going to touch on later, but actually a couple things I'm going to touch on, but just, something I want to at least be more cognizant of. It really sounded like I struggled with that word, but I do know how to say cognizant. Related to that, I want to work in what I'm calling enrichment across all aspects in my bullet journal this year and in life. I've been using the term enrichment and the idea of growth and learning, especially. I've come to realize that there's a void. I really miss it. I loved being in school. I loved researching. I liked writing essays. I was one of those people. Not if they were assigned on a topic I didn't like, but just kind of free form, pick something and dive deep into it. I love it. I love it so much. And I haven't been doing that in a good long while, and I've realized that it's missing. I've had so many things that I keep telling myself, like, oh God, I want to learn that. Well, why am I not? Like, we all have Al Gore's internet at our fingertips. There are so many options out there for learning new skills and languages and perspectives, and part of that is with reading too. And again, I talked about wanting to read more nonfiction and read more perspectives, and that's part of it. And I also just want to work in kind of like homework for myself, I want to grow my mind. I want to promote books again. That's another thing. Speaking of things that I miss, I really miss just talking about books with people, and being enthusiastic and getting the word out, being part of that vehicle for word of mouth promotion and just general book enthusiasm. I haven't been blogging, I haven't been vlogging, I haven't really been posting books on Instagram, and again, that is a void, I don't want to be too hard on myself about it, because I've definitely fallen out of the habit, and it's going to be hard to kind of pick that habit up, and I don't know at this stage in my life what it looks like anymore. How much time do I want to devote to it? How routine do I want it to be? So I'm still kind of sussing that out, but regardless of what it is, I just want to make it more of a priority across all social media platforms to push books, to talk about what I'm loving, to talk about things I've loved in the past that I think someone might like, to talk about cover design and gorgeous first lines and all of those things that I've loved for so long. It's a little bit more difficult in that I haven't really been accepting review copies of things for quite some time. Sometimes things do show up. I have a little stack next to me on my desk of things that have shown up, and one that I did actually accept for review. And it was just like the right email at the right time, I think. But although it's tempting to answer yes to all those emails that I still get saying, hey, you want this book? I'm trying to not go down that path so much again. I think I will do a video about this and just about kind of the vlogging side and how that changes who you are as a reader and the pros and cons. But I don't necessarily want to go down that path so much anymore because I feel like there's a lot. We'll talk about that later. But regardless, I just want to share the love again. Kind of going along with that whole more perspectives and more enrichment, and along with the spreading love of books, I want to take recommendations. You know, it's not just giving them, it's taking them. It's not just sharing the enthusiasm from your perspective, but kind of like absorbing the enthusiasm. There have been so many books that people have recommended to me over the years, and I have such a bad habit of just not reading them, even if they're ones that I think I would really like. But also I want people's recommendations of things that I probably wouldn't ever pick up, that I wouldn't even know about. So I want to solicit more recommendations, and I want to absorb them when they're given. So if you have recommendations of things for me, definitely let me know. I want to try to break my reliance on audiobooks because I've fallen into a really bad habit of only listening to audiobooks for reading, and though I love them and I think it's good, it's also bad because the types of things that I listen to on audiobooks really keep me locked into a box. I tend to pick up things that I can sort of half tune out so that I can listen to them while I'm doing other things. So it's really doing a disservice to me and the books, I think. And also it locks me into kind of a time of reading because I tend to listen to them at night before bed while I'm playing Stardew Valley. So I just need to kind of break it up. I want to finish up some series or read some books that have been on my shelves for a long time because I've just been so bad about that the last few years. And it kind of dovetails into something that I love and hate about myself, and that's that I like to plan, but then I also like to break those plans. So part of me wants to start a series about finishing series and work my way through them, plan maybe one a month or something like that, or have a whole month devoted to finishing up some series. Part of me I have all kinds of plans like that. I'm constantly doing that where I'm like, okay, well, what if 1 month I just let a specific person pick everything I read? Or what if 1 month I read all of my oldest books on my shelves, or just all these different things that I'm constantly like, I like to puzzle piece things together and make these little plans. Satisfies a part of my brain. But at the same time, I'm trying not to lock myself into things, same as, review books. So I need to figure out some balance between getting in the plans and the TBRs and the excitement of future planning with mood reading and just picking up whatever the hell is appealing to me at that time. I really got to figure out some kind of structure, some kind of balance. Unstructured structure, And the last thing on my list, very, very short, write one. It's been so long since I've written. I realized a couple years ago that, no, buddy, no, we're so close to the end. I realized a couple years ago that pretty much everything I was writing came from the same place and boiled down to the same thing, and it made me really sad. And it wasn't good. It wasn't a happy realization. It wasn't a happy thing that it boiled down to. It just kind of made me really sad and made me distance myself from writing quite a bit because I was going places I didn't want to go in my head. And I want to get back into loving it. For a long time, I feel like that part of me was just broken and I just didn't want to do it, didn't want to think it. But it's starting to creep back in. I'm starting to think in character voices and snippets again, and I want to get back to the joy of that and write for writing's sake and for my own personal enjoyment, with or without a goal of getting published. I think that's that's a question for the end, you know? But until then, just the sheer act of writing, of creation, you know? I miss it and I want to get back into it. It is definitely a hard habit to get back into when you've been so distant from it. There was a brief time a few years ago on the vlog, I think it was during NaNoWriMo, where I was writing and also vlogging about writing and sharing articles on writing and things, you know, that I had come across that I thought were interesting or helpful. And that was probably the most enjoyable it's ever been for me. And I think it was because it coupled the process of creation with the process of learning and studying and researching, like I talked about a second ago. So I want to re-embrace all of that. How much of it gets shared online, I really don't know. I'm not sure if I want to start that whole vlogging thing again as regards writing and creation, but I just want to get back into it in some way, whatever that may be. So that's the plan. I even made a bullet journal spread for it, which I have not touched since I drew it. So those are my reading and bookish goals for the year. There are probably more, and some of these will probably get tweaked or will become less of a priority as I progress through the year and decide what works for me and what doesn't. But that's kind of where my head's at now. I want recommendations, please leave them. I may be doing some projects, some reading goals and lists and things. I don't know. I haven't decided, but if I do, you'll probably be the first to hear about it. In my head at least, and eventually online, in theory. But that is all for this video. Hey, Happy New Year! Happy 2021, because we literally haven't had anything since like November. Sorry about that. But yeah, looking forward to chatting with you guys and seeing your faces in the comments and online, and letting you know that I'm still alive and I still think about you and I still want to talk about books. So that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching, and of course, happy reading. Here's hoping that this little piece of shit lavalier actually picked everything up that I said in this video, because sometimes it doesn't. Also, I'm sorry to anyone who got a little seasick from this video. I had all intentions of using my good camera, and of course the minute I opened my mouth, the battery died. I don't think it's charging right, so we might not be using that one for a while. But that means that I had to switch to my phone camera, and it is... there's a contraption, and basically every time I bump it, it just gently sways. So, I'm sorry about that.